Hey, I just wrapped up filming my latest video titled Cowboys versus Buffaloes. I'm going to walk you through and tell you everything you need to know on how to make a cowboy movie. But first, let's get a glimpse. So basically what I'm going to do is walk you through all the pieces of equipment that I use when making a video. There's a lot of equipment to acquire. Anything from the camera, to the slider, to the GoPro, to the drone, to the lighting, to the audio. But I don't want you to get overwhelmed because maybe you don't have all this equipment. Some of the stuff I've borrowed, sometimes you have to rent, sometimes you just acquire this stuff over years and years and years of collecting it. So don't feel bad if you don't have all the equipment. The most important thing is to learn to use the equipment that you currently have, because a lot of people think, well, I have to have the next greatest and best piece of equipment, and that's not true. If you can master the equipment that you currently have, you'll do just fine, and then you start acquiring more stuff. But let me walk you through some of the stuff that I have, okay? Okay, so the first thing that I want to show you is the gimbal, because this will give you a very steady and smooth shot for when you're in the back of a truck filming, or if you're walking with somebody, instead of getting some very bumpy, maybe even some jumpy, some quick cuts. You want to avoid all of that, and so the gimbal will help you get those smooth butter shots. So this is what I like to use. This is the DJI Ronin RS2, and as you can see, it's pretty cool. Once you get it mostly balanced, you can go ahead and do these calibrations where it will adjust each individual motor. You can kind of hear it calibrating, and that way it's really dialed in. But as you can see, the camera stays centered instead of going out of balance, right? So it always stays level, okay? So that's kind of cool. So now let's go fly the drone. The drone is a game changer for cinematographers or videographers. It gives you a different perspective, like a bird's eye perspective from high up, to cover a large amount of land and to kind of set the scene of what you're about to shoot. And I remember filming this expedition and I was thinking to myself, wow, if only we had a helicopter with a camera guy getting this shot. Because the shot was the Hog's Back, which is a long, narrow section, a ridge that leads up to what they call the pearly gates of Mount Hood, and that's the summit. And little did I know that they were going to invent the drone about 10 years later. There's a couple of great features. It's got this built-in gimbal right here. Can you see that? Everything is smooth. When it comes to the drone, a lot of people just do the standard push-in shot or the pull-away shot with the drone, and those are great shots. Eventually, if you want to start improving your quality of your drone shots, then you have to start combining some of what I call the artistic shots of the drone. What I would do is I would start off with doing the 360 shot, and then I would combine that with the push-in shot, and maybe even decrease in elevation or increase in elevation. And so you're getting a combination of 3 different shots. So for example, I love doing the 360 shot as it starts to pull away and increase in elevation. So instead of just one 360 shot where you're going around the subject, now you're doing one 360 shot as it goes up and starts to pull away. So that's what I call an artistic shot, and it's much more pretty than just a standard push-in or a pull-away shot. But those take a little bit more practice and a little bit more skill with the drone, so you have to get out there and just start flying and practicing some of these shots to get the shot down. Another shot is the parallax shot, and that's where the drone is going one way, but the camera is going the other. So they're kind of opposite, okay? You can do that with an elevator shot going up and down where your drone is flying up, but your camera is tilting down. And so you get both of those in one smooth shot, and those look great. The reveal shot is always great as you come up over a ridge and then you reveal what's on top of that ridge. Or you start to tilt the camera up and reveal what's out in the open. So those kind of things, you have to get really skilled with the drone and in order to get those cinematic, more interesting, more attention-grabbing shots. Another thing you can do with the drone shot is a feature called tracking. So you can draw a box around the subject that you're trying to track, and as the subject is moving, the drone will follow it, either from a side perspective, or an angle right behind it, or right in front of it. It'll just track and move along with the subject as the subject is moving. So eventually I'm going to be creating a drone video, so make sure you subscribe so that you can catch that. And if you need just a bit more control for your video, perhaps consider a pursuit cam where you have a team of creative visionaries driving a car, controlling a crane, and operating the remote head and the camera to get the exact shot that you envision. Now let's talk about the slider. The slider gives you those smooth panning shots from side to side. I'm using the syrup slider with the 2 motorized genies and the magic carpet track. If you use the 2 motorized genies, you can always keep the subject in the center of the frame as it's sliding back and forth. So you got one motorized genie going one way and the other one going the opposite way, and that way you can track your subject in the center of the frame.
Had to drop the class.
Now, let's talk about the GoPros. I have a love-hate relationship with the GoPros. The benefit is you can just set them anywhere. They're tough and they're for quick action sports, quick action shots. They're small enough to where you can mount them just in about anywhere and get different angles from different perspectives. And in that sense, they're great. I'm not real happy about the quality or the type of footage that it produces. It's a lesser camera, right? But again, I'm pleased because I can put this just about anywhere. I remember one time I had a raft and we were going down the Snake River, and I had, I think, 4 or 5 different GoPros on the raft so that I can get every angle and every perspective. So one was on the front of the boat facing everyone in the boat. One was on the front of the boat facing the waves that we were about to hit. One was on this back scorpion tail that I built so I can get a perspective of what's happening inside the boat as the wave comes over the front, hits everybody and washes everybody out. So there's all these different perspectives that you can get from a GoPro, and sometimes you have to use more than one. I use this GoPro all the time because you can put all these different accessories on it. One is the microphone. Surprisingly, it does really well for picking up audio. But of course, you got to be facing it right on. Okay, but it also has the light. So that's really cool for lighting up your face. But the microphone, the light, you know, it's just a perfect all-around camera that you can use for either podcasting or for on-the-fly shots where you're kind of narrating and documenting what you're trying to show. There's a lot of accessories that these come with. So you got your handheld. Now the newer GoPros have that hyperlapse feature that creates everything so smooth. So it's like this built-in gimbal within the camera. The other thing is you can get these polarizers and ND filters for the GoPro lens to get the shutter speed that you want. Or if you're shooting across ocean or a lot of snow, you can throw the polarizer in or the ND filter on there and get some better color. And don't forget your adhesive mounts, because you never know where you're going to need to stick these things.
So where are you going to stick this?
I'll tell you where I'd like to stick it.
Maybe a little adapter for getting the angle that you want as well. Of course, you got the chesty harness, which you can go ahead and mount it to a person and get a different perspective. You got the dog harness where you can get it on a dog and get that perspective. But this is really cool because it just kind of extends the GoPro out. Haven't tried strapping it to an eagle though. I don't think I'll do that. Over here, what we have is the Canon C70. There's a lot of great things about this camera. Let me just tell you a couple of them right now. One, it's got a built-in recorder, so you don't need a separate recorder like that one there. It's got built-in ND filters, so you don't have to sit there and twist on ND filter. Another nice thing about this camera is a lot of these smaller cameras, they overheat, especially if you're recording in 4K. The Canon EOS C70 has a built-in fan. You never have to worry about that camera overheating or shutting down, even if you're in Tucson. It's on a fluid Manfrotto tripod. You know, I was wondering once if I should invest in a fluid head tripod or a gimbal tripod, and it really does depend on what you want to do as a creator. If you're doing video, then a fluid head is what you want so that you can track movement going from side to side or up and down in a fluid, smooth motion. Whereas a gimbal tripod is for still photography, for example, bird watching. If you want to like swivel or pan or tilt and then get the picture of a bird and have it stationary so that you can get the sharpness of the picture. Forgot to tell you about this camera over here. We have the R6 camera. This is a great camera. I love this camera because it does photography and video, and it's my go-to camera that I'm always grabbing and going with. So love that camera. Now you're also going to need a standard lens that you can use most of the time. I like the Canon 24-105 or the 24-70. If you can't afford the 2.8 aperture, go with the 4.0. Now I'm going to recommend getting a good zoom lens that's got a good reach. I have the Canon 100 to 500 millimeter lens, and this has been the best purchase I've ever made. But there was a time where I said to myself, you cannot justify spending $3,000 on a lens. You just can't do it. That's way too much money. So I was ready to pack it up and send it back. I even actually had it packaged, ready to ship. All I had to do was take it to the shipping store. But something came over me that said, don't you dare. My mother passed away a year before. I got a little bit of inheritance money from her passing away, and this is what I purchased. And she did not want me to send it back because she knew how much joy I would get from this camera. And she was absolutely right. I use it for bird photography, for animal photography, for making any of my videos. If I need that far reach, that 500 millimeters will give me, whether I'm filming a horse or whether I'm filming a bear. This thing has been awesome. I love it. Now, one of the most important things that I do when I'm considering putting together a video is I consider the selection of music that I'm going to use for the video. And there's a lot of different sites out there. There's MusicBed, Premium Beat, Motion Array, there's Artlist. I personally like Premium Beat. They have a better selection of music to choose from, and I love their subscription prices. A lot of people think, well, I'll just get my favorite song off of the radio or my favorite artist, but that's violating copyright laws. So you have to look for these royalty-free websites where you don't have copyright issues and you can license the music that you're going to use for your video. But selecting the right music is a big part of the video. You want the audience to feel a certain way. And when I put that music together, I'm always thinking about the beats. I'll cut up the clips in the video and I'll edit to the music. So anytime it drops to the next beat, I'll move on to the next scene or the next clip. That's where I cut the edit. You're always envisioning in your mind what you want your video to look like.
So when you're out in the field, you're always thinking about the edit that you're going to do in post, and just start thinking about in your own mind what your video should look like. So start to put together a shot list. Anytime I have a video, I'm always thinking, I need this shot, I need a wide shot of this, I need an aerial shot of this, I need a close-up shot of this. And so I'm putting together a shot list of when I get out into the field, I can refer back to it and say, oh yeah, I remember envisioning this, so I need to get this shot. Well, that's it, folks. I'm going to go ahead and end this on showing you the full video of cowboys versus buffalo, but try to identify the specific tools that I used to get the shot. So until next time, let's go find some animals.